Free Spirit Beaters. How are you guys today? Thanks so much for being here. This is Free Spirit Beading with Softflex Company, and I'm your host, Kristen Fagan. I hope that you guys have had a really nice Thanksgiving weekend if you're here in the US and you celebrate. And if you're not here in the US, I hope you had a great weekend. I'm happy to be back. I missed you guys last Monday. I had planned to do a video, but we just got so busy getting ourselves prepared for the holiday weekend that I had to postpone till today. So hi Tina, thanks for joining me. I'm glad you're here. Today we're going to be talking about knitting spools, one of my favorite tools. I showed you guys a video a few weeks back on the Free Spirit Beading playlist. You can go back and look at that. I think I actually did 2 or 3 already with the knitting spool and Softflex beading wire. Hi Pamela. Hi Jeanette. Great to see you. Hi Mary. And Susie, good morning. Good morning. So today we're going to be talking about using the knitting spools with our Softflex craft wire. I've done this a few times also, and it's a lot of fun, but it is a little bit different than using the flexible beading wire, and so I'll explain some of those differences for you guys today. How's everyone doing on this Cyber Monday? I know that we are having a big blowout sale today on Facebook. So if you go to the Softflex Company Facebook page at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time today, Sarah will be doing a live sale with all sorts of things. I think we've got tools and findings and beads and just a big mix of different stuff. And that will be open for 2 days. So if you can't catch it live at 1, the sale will actually be open for the next 2 days, so you can watch it later. But it is first come, first serve. So if you can watch it live or close to it, you'll have a better chance of grabbing those great deals. I think things are gonna be between 20 and 50%. Hi Vanessa, thanks for being here today. Good to see you guys. So let's go ahead and I'm going to turn you guys down to my beading table, show you the tools we've got, and get started with knitting with craft wire. So are you guys familiar with Softflex craft wire at all? Softflex craft wire is a high quality, permanently colored copper wire. And today I'm actually going to be using our bare copper in the 26 gauge. All of our colors in craft wire, with the exception of bare copper, have a special enamel process to coat the wire, which create all the different colors as well as resist it from patinaing and tarnishing. And this particular color, the bare copper, is the only one that doesn't have that coating. So this wire will patina, but all the other ones will not. Pamela says she's never used it, and Vanessa says a little bit, yes. So the difference is when you're looking at, I'm just going to grab, when you're looking at a Softflex wire, this is a stainless steel product that's braided and then coated, well, colored and coated, and it's very soft and flexible. You know, you can bend it, you have to crimp it to finish it. It's not going to hold its shape except for maybe you know, some loops or things like that, but it's pretty flexible. Whereas craft wire is a hard wire, so when you bend it into shape, it's going to keep that shape. And this is a copper product versus a stainless steel product. So for doing our knitting, we are going to use the smaller gauges. You want to use a 26, 28, maybe even a 24. I tend to go for the 26 gauge. The 28 is going to be a little bit thinner and softer and may break a little more easily on you. And so I kind of stay away from that one because I'm a little worried that of breakage, but I know that Sarah has knitted with the 28 successfully, and you can do it. And if you've never done it before, it's not a bad size to work with because it is softer. It'll be a little more forgiving. But I've always worked with the 26 gauge. I feel like it's soft enough and yet sturdy enough, and I've been really happy with it. So that's what I'm going to use today. So I've got 26 gauge. This comes in a 30-yard spool, and I'm going to work straight off the spool. As you see, I've strung my seed beads right on, and I'm just going to work straight off the spool so I don't have to worry about how much wire to cut. I just stop when I am happy with the length. And I'm using a size 11 turquoise colored seed beads. We don't sell seed beads at Softlex Company, but you can find them lots of other places. So any of the stores locally or places you shop online will likely have some size 11 seed beads for you to purchase from. Of course, I've got a knitting spool, and I am using the 3-pin spool today. It's got the 3 pins here. We sell this size. This is our smallest, and then we've got a 4-pin and a 5-pin. So that's what I'm using, the 3-pin today. I have a draw plate to show you guys. You don't really need it with this particular design because of the beads. The beads kind of help take away the necessity of it. But if you were doing a design without beads, you do really want this tool. So I'm going to just show it to you briefly at the end as well. So I also have some chain nose pliers, some flush cutters. I have my loop right looping pliers here, but you can use any round nose pliers for what we'll be using it for today. And I have cones, head pin. I actually have 2 head pins, 2 cones, and a toggle clasp. And then I have a couple of other beads here just to kind of show you some options for ending your design. Pamela says, do you use the same cutter for all types of wire? I use my Softlex Pro Flush cutter for all of my Softlex beading wire, and I do use it with the very small gauges. So this is 26 gauge, so I'm comfortable using this particular tool with 26 gauge. You can use it with heavier ones too. It'll just, you know, it will work, but it may be a little harder on your cutter. So when I'm working with heavier craft wire, I tend to use a cutter that isn't as precious as this one. But since I'm using the small thin gauge today, this is just fine. It's not going to harm my professional cutter in any way. Let's see. All right, I think I went over all the tools I've got here. Let me know if I missed anything that you see that I didn't talk about. Just gonna move those out of my way. And so this is what we're gonna be working on today, is I'm gonna show you guys how to make this fun knitted, kind of freeform knitted bracelet. And you can change up the beads. This design, I'm just using seed beads because they're pretty easily available. Everyone knows kind of what they are. And you can use any other beads you have. You can use larger beads. I would say up to 6 millimeter. And if you do go that large, I would do a mix of smaller beads with the larger beads so that you've got a little more of a bead soup in there if you're using some larger beads. So the first thing I did was string on all of my seed beads. I have approximately 100 seed beads on here. I think there's actually 120. I don't know that we'll use them all, but this should be enough. So if you've got around 100, you should be good. And then on one end, the end we're going to feed down our knitting spool, I just made a little loop here, and really that's just so that my beads didn't slide off, and it also give me a little bit of something to grab onto when I pull down on the tail while I'm designing. So we're going to take this end and we're going to feed it down the center of our knitting spool, and we're going to leave about 2 inches, 2 to 3 inches out the bottom, just like that. And you can even fold it over a little bit. Oh, Sarah's here today. Hi, Sarah. Nice to see you. And Damien. Damien is here as Softflex Company, and Sarah is here with herself. Thanks for joining us today, Sarah. You don't usually make it on a Monday. Nice to see you. I told everyone about the cyber sale at 1 p.m. Pacific time on the Facebook page. So I hope they will join you as well. Okay, so now that we've got our spool, we've got our wire running down the center, I'm gonna take my wire and I'm gonna wrap it around. I'm gonna start on the left side of the pin, and I'm gonna go around and move on to the next one. And then I'm gonna go around that one and move on to the next one. And then I'm gonna go around that one and come back. I'm back here to the beginning. So the way we want to do this is once we come, after we have our first round of loops through, we're going to add a bead. So now I'm just going to drop one seed bead in the center, and I'm going to go through the inside of that pin, go around it, and move on to the next one, just like I did the first time. I'm going to drop another bead, go to the inside of that pin, go around it, and then move on to the next one. And then I have one more, so drop that one more bead inside that pin. Let me give myself a little more wire. Inside that pin, around. So now I know I'm back to the beginning because all of my pins will have 2 loops. They'll have a bottom loop, which is the first one we did, and then we'll have the top loop. So every pin will have the 2 loops, and that's how I know I'm back to that first one that I started at. Now what we want to do is we want to take the stylus and we want to grab this bottom loop. So there's the two wire strands on our pin. We want to grab this bottom loop, and I'm just going to take my stylus and I'm going to position it out to the end of my spool and pull the wire out, and then lift my stylus up. You'll see the wire kind of held its shape, and I'm just going to fold that wire into the middle. Now I don't want to pull this down yet because this is where my tension is going to come from on the next pin. So now I'm going to twist my spool to get to the next one. So I'm twisting it counterclockwise, and this one has the 2 loops. I'm going to grab the bottom loop, stylus in the center. I'm going to drag my stylus to the end. I'm just using the side of my spool to get that wire out like that. And then I'm going to flip it over. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the next one. Grab that bottom loop, drag it out to the edge of my stylus, the edge of my spool, and flip it over. So now that I've gotten back to this pin here, you'll see I only have one loop. So that means I need to go around again and add my second loop with a bead for every pin. So we're gonna pick up another seed bead. We're gonna wrap around the inside of that pin, go around it, pick out another seed bead, go inside and around, one more seed bead, inside and around, and now once again you can see that I come to here and this one's got 2 loops. So now I know that this one's ready for me to use the stylus and loop it around. So we never want more than 2 loops, and if we've gotten back down to 1 loop, we know it's time to go back around and add some beads. Aw, thanks, Sarah. Sarah says she's glad to see us here enjoying our tutorial. I'm a great teacher and I come at projects with an artist brain. Thank you, Sarah. I do find that, I wonder if I explain things enough sometimes, but I think I'm getting better. So we just did the same thing we did before. We grabbed the bottom loop, pulled it out to the edge of our spool, and then fold our wire up over. Now, at this point, I have a bit of wire and the beads sort of gathering up here in the center. If you want, at this point, you can actually pull on your tail just to kind of clean all that up a little bit and get your beads to go down the tube. And then you're going to do the same thing, bottom loop, bring it out to the edge, fold it over. Fold it over, and now we're back again to this pin which only has 1 loop on it. So that means I have to add more beads and do a second loop. We're always our own worst critics, right? Sarah says, I think you do great. So you add a bead, you go around the inside of your pin, take it all the way around, add another bead, go around the inside of the next pin, all the way around, and bead inside all the way around. So now I'm back to having 2 loops on all of my pins, and I'm going to come back up to this one, grab that bottom loop, slide my stylus to the edge of the spool, flip it over. And do that for all 3. And now I'm going to grab my tail and just pull on it again. And having this little loop at the bottom kind of gives you something to grab onto. You'll see I still have this, I always have that 1 wire sort of sticking out in an odd way, but you need that there to help bring the tension each time you're doing a net. Yeah, when I have done the craft wire, Sarah, this is the one that I have done. So I've only done craft wire a couple of times, but this is the knit that I usually do when I do craft wire. I've done that one, and then I've done this one without any beads at all. And I was explaining to everybody in the beginning how when you don't have any beads at all, you do really need to use a draw plate to help even out your knit, because when I took this one off the spool, it's super wonky. It's thin, it's thick, it's thin, it's thick, And so this is what you use your draw plate for, is you slide the wire through and out each of these holes until you've gotten it to the size you want to make it uniform. And for a better explanation, I think I even have this one on our blog right now. It is, yeah, there's a blog on our homepage. If you scroll down, it's the last one of the series, and I talk about this particular bracelet without the beads. So how is everybody feeling with the process at this point? Did you follow along okay with bead and then going around the peg? Another bead around the peg. I believe I learned this knit from Beaducation. And I actually link to that video in the blog post I'm talking about. They put up a really thorough knit with wire video a few years back, and that was where I learned this. Yeah, the technique of pulling the stylus out really helps with the craft wire, and it actually helps you maintain your tension really well. I don't know when using the beading wire if you would get that same effect, because with the beading wire you really want to stay close to your pin and get that loop up and over really tightly. But with the craft wire, by pulling it out, you are maintaining a very similar tension the entire way. So I feel that that was a really helpful tip that I had picked up from them at Beaducation. So if we're good here, I wanted to go ahead and show you guys how to finish the design once you're ready to finish. Seem to be pulling on me. So you let me know, are you guys ready for me to take this off, or you want to see me go around a few more times? This is Knitting Style 3. I'm not sure, Sarah. I have to look at Knitting Style 3. It kind of is, because Knitting Style 3, you go around the loop twice, but then I think you take the beading wire out around the outside one more time. So I think there's 3 loops on Knitting Style 3, if I'm not mistaken. Vanessa's ready, and Tina would like me to go around one more time, so I will go around again. So I know that this is my next pin because the wire is coming off of this one, and this pin here only has 1 loop, so I need to add a second. So I'm going to go ahead and add a bead. I'm going to go around the inside and around, and then turn my spool counterclockwise, add another bead, go around the inside and around, turn my spool counterclockwise, and one more time, add a bead inside and around. And now this will be the last one I do. I'm going to start on the next one. So I'll turn it one more time. I'll grab this bottom loop, bring the stylus out to the edge, bring the wire up and over. Go to the next one, grab the bottom loop, bring it out to the edge, up and over, and the next one. Edge, up and over. And then I'll pull on this. Now how this works is, as I continue knitting, my strand is going to come out the bottom of the spool here. And you're going to want to decide, depending on your clasp and your cones, if you're using cones, how much length those will be, and then you'll know how much wire you'll need to knit. So I think on this one, my knitted wire was about yeah, so this one here is about 6 inches. But one of the things with craft wire too is that your knit will lengthen a little bit as you kind of soften it and pull on it to pull it out and make it a little more uniform. So you might want to stop, you know, a little bit sooner than, so if this is 6 inches, I probably stopped at like 5 3/4 of an inch, somewhere around there, and then I softened it a bit and it got a little longer. I'll show you what I mean. Let's see how much is on here. So say I'm at my end and I'm happy with where I've got it and the length, and I'm ready to take it off the spool. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut my wire free from the spool, and I'm going to cut off, leave myself another 2 to 3 inches or so. So now you've got your wire free from your spool. So now I'm just going to very lightly take all of my wire up over my pegs, just like so. And then you'll take this strand and you're going to feed it in to those loops to close them. You can even pull this off too. And 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so we only have a very small amount we've done so far, but you'll see as I tug on it how your wire kind of comes out a bit wild, and you just want to take your fingers and lightly push it down, and in that way it'll lengthen it a little bit too. And this wire is soft, so you can easily just use your fingers and kind of push it together, and then you've got your little cord there. Now I'm going to show you guys this draw plate, how you would do this. It'll work slightly because I have really small beads on it, but if you have beads, you don't really have to do this process. If you don't have beads, you'll find and you want to do something where you just have the wire, you really do need to do this process. So you're going to feed one end through the jaw plate, and this one, it goes through really easily. It really doesn't even grab it that much, so it didn't do a whole lot. But you want to start on the bigger one and work your way down to tightening it. So this is the second one. That grabbed it just a little bit. I'm going to put it through that one again. And what it does is it gives you more of a uniform cord. I'm not sure it'll go through the third one. Let's see. Oh, it does slightly. So if you really want to compact it, it'll just continually compact your wire to give it a more uniform cord there. So that's how you use this guy. And like I said, you can use it with these little beads, but you don't have to. I did use it actually on this one. I think I went through just this big guy here. I don't think I could even get it in through that little one, the next one. But you can also just use your fingers to kind of soften it down and make it more uniform. So one of the ways you can end it is with a cone, and that's how I did here. The cone and a eye pin and my toggle clasp. So you'll find that a lot of cones are pretty large. So a cone like this is great when you're using the soft flex beading wire, but it's a bit big for this particular design. So that's something to keep in mind, that cones can get pretty large at the bottom. And for this design, you want something pretty small. I'm not even sure. Let me see what the measurements are on this one. But this is a pretty tiny cone. It has a very small opening on either side. If you didn't have a cone, you could always create one yourself with craft wire. I've shown how to do that on a video too. That would be doing something like this. You just use a heavier gauge craft wire and you give yourself a little wrap on the end to make your own cone. Or you can always try ending it with a bead cap if you have a bead cap too. So in this particular instance, you can add a bead and then a little bead cap at the end, and that would give you a nice finish to connect to your clasp. But today I'm going to show you how to add this little cone. Let me get my measuring tool. Okay, so this opening here is just 5 millimeters. So that's a pretty small cone. And then the total length of this cone is 12 millimeters. So it's 12 millimeters long, and I've got a 5 millimeter opening on that side. Oop, I'm kind of heading off camera. Let me fix my mat here. So to connect to my clasp, this is a pretty thin wire. So I really don't want to connect this particular gauge unless I was using, I think Sarah's done it where she's used a few wires, because I'm afraid that it will break over time bending back and forth. So I'm going to use this eye pin, and I'm going to string this wire through the eye pin just like that, and just bend the wire over, and then I'm actually going to take the tail and just give a few passes around to secure that eye pin to the end of my wire. Where do those, you know, I have no idea where those tiny cones came from. I have no clue. I've got about 6 of them. It could be a beadbox item. When I, many years ago, was working at a local bead store called Beadbox, and I have a bunch of stuff still from them. So yeah, I don't know. They're so small. I wish if I find a supplier, it would be a good thing for us to have, because it works perfectly with these craft wire. So now that I've got my eye pin attached to the end of my wire, I can just string this cone down on it, and just want to make sure the wire around the cone is fitting nicely. And I'm going to take my chain nose plier and bend it at a 90-degree angle at the end of my cone. And then I'm going to use my wire looping plier. And you can use a round nose plier too, but I really wanted to, the wire looping plier gives me measurements, and I wanted to use the 2mm loop like I did on this side. So it's a nice way to make your loops consistent. So I'm just going to grab a hold of that wire. I did find some tiny cones. Sarah is saying, I feel like you found some tiny cones at fusionbeads.com for one of your Seed Bead Revolution projects. Would be great for Kumihimo wire projects too. Yes, I did buy some cones from fusionbeads.com for our Seed Bead Revolution book, and I do think that they had some pretty small ones. If I remember correctly, I'll have to take a look at what project I used that on. But yeah, tiny cones. We need tiny cones. So I'm holding on to the eye pin wire that I've bent in between my looping pliers. You'll see I have the big one on the bottom, the small one on the top, and I'm gonna wrap this around the top, and then I'm just gonna twist my plier so it's holding it the opposite way and continue to wrap it around. And then you can pull that off. I'm just gonna take it and straighten it back a little bit towards me so that I have a nice little loop there. And I'm gonna grab my chain nose pliers, grab the end of this loop, and I'm just gonna give it a little twist towards me so that I can open up that space to slide on my toggle clasp. And then I'm going to grab that spot again and push it back down so that it closes that loop. And then I'm using my chain nose pliers. I'm just going to hold on to that loop and using my fingers wrap this around 1 or 2 times. And this eye pin is a little bit heavier, so if you have a second tool, you probably could do that too. And then I'm going to grab my flush cutters and trim off some of that wire from the eye pin. And there you have it. So this was using the 26 gauge bare copper soft flex wire and size 11 seed beads on the 3-pin spool. Do you want me to bring it up a little closer? Oh, I read your mind, Sarah. We do that. So fun. So there's that one. And then I have this one that's on our blog right now at softflexcompany.com. And this one was done with the 26 gauge green wire on the 5-pin. And then I used, I believe this is the bronze color, probably 20 gauge bronze. I have the material on our blog listed for that one. It is perfect for Christmas. So those are 2 with craft wire. And then, oh, I have this one that Sarah made. This one is a beautiful design that is, you could make cute little wreaths with it. Always thinking, Sarah. This one is a gorgeous design that Sarah did with craft wire and the 5-pin knitting spool. It's hard to see, but there's actually a strand of beads on the inside of this. And I believe that helps this to not collapse. Is that correct, Sarah? By having that strand of beads in the center, you're able to really keep the shape of that wire so that they don't soften and collapse. 5-pin. This was published in Step by Step, I believe, magazine, and you did use a different knitting style. Yeah, I was wondering what style you used, how you've gotten the beads kind of on the edges like that. Very nice. Knitting style 1. And then I figured I'd show you guys too. These are 2 knitting designs done with the Softflex beading wire. So you'll see the difference, like Softflex is actually stretchy. And you can find this project on free Spirit Beading playlist right here on our Softflex YouTube channel. I think this was one of the second or third videos I did. So you can see that design. And then this is another one with Softflex beading wire. This one is a different knit and no beads. And then you can see how these larger cones work perfectly with the Softflex. So let me flip you guys back up. Hopefully I don't drop my phone. There we go. Am I crooked? Yeah, the pink is pink and white. So let me, you know what, where this camera is, the sun's coming in a little. Let me pull you back. So this particular one is pink and white. Oh, it's hard to grab it in the light here. So if you go to softflexcompany.com and you click at the top, there's a spot that says School of Design. You click on School of Design, you can link to our blog from there and you'll see a bunch of the projects on that. You can also link to our tips and tricks section, and within that section we have a spot that says Knitting Style 1, Knitting Style 2, Knitting Style 3. So we have videos in there and some step-by-step examples of those 3 different types of knit in that particular area as well. I'm trying to remember which this one is. This one's the one, Sarah, that looks a lot like a Viking knit. I know this was definitely Knitting Style 1. I feel like, yeah, the sun is always, you can always count on that sun being here, that's for sure. I have now, because I've got a big window in here, and the week before, 2 weeks ago, the sun was super bright, and so now I have tissue paper, like 4 pieces of tissue paper all along my window, but I still have a part that is above that, so there's just a lot of sun. Can't get away from it here in Arizona. We miss you here in the desert, Sarah. So a couple of things to let you guys know about. We've got Cyber Monday today over on the Softflex Facebook page at 1 p.m. Pacific time. Sarah will be there showing all sorts of goodies. I think we've got some tools and findings and beads, all of that stuff. Is that right, Sarah? And oh my gosh, 245 items, ranging from 20% off to 50% off. We also, if you're shopping on our website, today's the last day for you to spend $99 and get $25 off. That is huge. We never have anything that deep of a discount. Plus, your shipping will be free because any order over 50 ships free. So spend $99, get $25 off, and free shipping. That ends tonight at midnight. And then we also have, Sarah is going to be doing a video on Wednesday. We have a design challenge with our Holly Jolly beading kit. So she will be showing, that's at 1 p.m. on our Facebook page, Softflex Company Facebook page. Sarah's going to be doing a design challenge, and then we also launch our next monthly kit becomes available, and those sell out super fast. So we'll have that online to purchase right around the time of the video at 1 p.m. Pacific time. So make sure to check on that if you're interested, because they go like hotcakes. Thank you guys so much for being here today. I love using the knitting spool, and it was really fun to show you a craft wire design today with beads. I hope you enjoyed it and you'll give it a try. And as always, if you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments and I'll take a look and answer as best I can. Subscribe to us. If you like this video, you'll get updates on when I'm here and when Sarah's got new videos coming out, and then hopefully we'll be seeing James again soon in the new year with his craft wire videos. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I love being here with you guys, and have a great week. I will see you next Monday. Bye.